It seems like the end of the line. Hey, my mind's completely made up, because only a fool would stay. Knowing one day you'll break his heart. My heart says stay, but my mind says go. What to do? I swear I don't know. It seems like it's the end of the line. We're living in borrowed time. Oh girl, it's the end of the line. It's the end of the line, baby. Oh girl, we come to the end of the line. It's the end, the end of the line. Please, baby, it's the end of the line. We can make it, we can make it now. It's the end of the line, baby.
Time to go to bed. Close your eyes and lay down your head. Time to go to sleep. A new day comes tomorrow, you'll see. Thank you for today. Now we sleep the night away. One and two and three. You wake up here tomorrow.
Millions of years ago, in another galaxy, the engineers enacted a plan. They traveled great distances to spread their knowledge of the universe. And one day arrived at an ancient Earth and transmitted their imaging knowledge. Throughout great moments in history, these images were seen and captured the history of the world. But all things come to an end, and one day the last imager fell. The world was cast into darkness as they faded from this life. But maybe, just maybe, one day they will return.
Welcome to the Voyager Ungraded podcast. It is I, John Owens, which I should have said Frame Voyager, and we're here to, talk about abandoned cameras that we've been doing for a while, and also hitting 50,000 subscribers. But joining me here is a big time friend of the channel, who started out watching this channel and wanted to join us in that. He's actually sponsoring this episode, the podcast, this live stream, and some other stuff coming out. And that his name is George Marsack. So, George, go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is George. I am the creator of the CNC Time-Lapse YouTube channel. And just kind of fell in love with this channel as I kind of dived into working on my own channel and did some research and whatnot. Came across Frame Voyager, of course, and all the awesome documentaries and videos. And so when I started working on my own channel, came up with the idea of designing and building my own CNC machine. And I figured, hey, why not? I'll document it, see if others will enjoy the ride as well, and kind of learn from my mistakes, hopefully, and I can learn from the community as well. So hopefully someday I'll have a community as awesome as the Frame Voyager channel.
Yeah, awesome to have you on. I'm glad he's going to be here. He's going to actually be asking me a bunch of questions about our production work and just different how we put all of this stuff together. It is kind of a question that we get asked a lot, and I think best coming from someone who's wanting to learn or even watching it, where I probably asking, thinking of questions that I wouldn't even be able to ask. So it's awesome to have you here. Always love getting support from the community towards our content, which is awesome. And but this is going to be a fun live podcast for the, as we call it, Voyager Ungraded podcast. We're going to be having a meme challenge later on here. Let me see, put that. Yep, there it is. We're gonna have some quizzes. We're gonna show some of our favorite comments, and we're gonna have several Q&As throughout this. So stick around if you guys do have some questions about stuff. It's gonna be a lot of fun. In between that, I'm gonna be answering, like I said, questions and stuff about our production and questions from everyone else. So let's get started. What is the first thing you would like to ask me about our production process?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously with any project, I know even for myself, my own project, I just kind of want to know what your thought process is, especially, talk about, the abandoned camera series, for example. If you're going to, try to create a new video, what is kind of where do you begin with your process?
So a lot of, that's the hardest thing when we got started doing this. I kind of sort of fell into it. When I found the series, I was trying to actually make a different video. I'm like, oh, I should make it like this. I was trying to find some new content. And when this worked, the style worked, I was like, oh, I could do this with so many other things. But the idea really comes from what are the abandoned cameras, and what's that interesting angle you can take for each one? Because each one has its own little story, its own unique history. And obviously some of them are way more dramatic and still alive than others. So like the Fran 8K, for example. Sometimes you just fall into really good ones. So that's really what we're looking for is what's its place in history? What was it used on? Does it have a lot of information or resources on it? And if it's kind of super obscure and it just doesn't have any videos and no one's really touched it, and it's not really from a company that people would really know or you could find stuff for, and it didn't have a significant moment, we kind of push those back a little bit so we can spend some time researching, versus the ones that the Star Wars camera. There's plenty of information about that digital camera that they used for the Phantom Menace, and just a little bit of a part of the Phantom Menace, and then was Attack of the Clones. So that's kind of where we started, is looking for that interesting little tidbit that we can find to tell the story with, because otherwise we're just talking about specs. And while specs are cool, you do want to have that fun story element, and add some drama, which some people don't love that we add the drama into it, but
yeah, I think that's one thing that I've always appreciated with your videos too, is and what separates the Frame Voyager videos from other, as far as technology goes. It's not about the technology necessarily. There's about the story behind it. And, that's one thing that always keeps me engaged in the videos. And, something that I strive to do hopefully for my videos moving forward too. So yeah, that's awesome. When it comes to you know, uh, obviously you do the research, right? You're trying to establish that particular story. Is there anything that you try to maybe avoid? It's again looking forward to like what to avoid, what not to do.
Yeah. So I will say I started off doing like all the research, all the production process by myself. And I have to give a big shout out to both my writers and researchers that help me a lot now and make the episodes so much better because there's more than just my eyes looking at it. Massey and Elwood, they're great. They keep the content going as much as otherwise we wouldn't be able to come out with content as fast as we do. So, and what was your question again? As far as like, just like, what do we try to avoid in research, or what do we try to?
The areas of work that you kind of anticipate will, you probably want to avoid, I guess going down a rabbit hole, content wise. And
yeah, I mean, look, I like to be a little edgy with our content because you got to add a little bit of drama in it. Some people say that's like a shtick, that's like, oh, that's just their thing. And he's not really serious about it. But we actually do a lot of hard research into things. And I mean, we're not going to get everything right. All of this stuff is like ancient history that's been wrapped in like just the deep, dark places of the web that you have to go find it. And then you try to find the like sources and stuff, which we've had as we've developed this series, our list of sources and network has grown to help get better information in. So usually the thing we try to do is make sure we can get as close to accurate as possible. My researchers and writers will go get everything. We put everything in links. Everything's hyperlinked. We put it actually into an Obsidian database that you can actually go view. We're going to start posting those in the links of the video here soon, but you can actually see the spider web and see where, like for each of our videos, how it all connects, what sources we're pulling from, all of that. After they're done with that process, I go through it, cut out things that I'm like, I don't want to talk about this or delve into this. So we try not to too hard go after specific people and kind of let the story tell itself as much, or let others tell the story in specific parts. Because our goal is never to like bash people, just kind of like report a little bit what's going on, but also try to add a little bit of drama.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense there too. And you kind of mentioned too, with regard to like, data storage and accessing that, you have a team that you work with. Like kind of on the I guess on the hardware perspective, like when you're gathering your information, I mean, are you doing it like are you just keeping a repository somewhere that you can just kind of share with other people, or like you mentioned, you specifically early on when you're doing your videos, you're kind of doing it by yourself. What are some lessons there that you'd like to maybe share, or some improvements? Because I know for myself, man, it takes a while to make a video, and
some of it's like really sourcing stuff, like in double checking on sources, because there's a lot of stuff written, and when you're trying to find like a lot of stuff beforehand, it's much easier now that people actually like are happy that we're doing it. So even in like the ones we're working on now, we've got plenty of abandoned camera series episodes coming up, and they're all being like, we're just taking more time on them. They're probably going to be longer because we're getting more interviews and people are interested in actually talking about these cameras now. So I think that was kind of the lesson, is like early on, I was doing like one a week for like, I think the first 10 episodes or something. And then I realized that like, we really can't keep up with
it's not maintainable. I don't understand how you could even do that. It's a full-time job by itself.
Yeah. So like learning how to let go of some of the stuff and like have someone else do it, like write it. And the two of them were great. Like they're both love documentary research. You can actually check out their channels on our, we have them linked in our channel page if you want to go find them. They're really great. So, I mean, that's like a couple of lessons from that. Like we've gotten some feedback from people about certain things that maybe weren't fully right, and I think that's the hardest part, is trying to cover all the perspectives, because there's always several and everyone thinks they have like a little piece of the story and that it didn't go this way. And, so sometimes it's gonna be hard, because when you come out with the content, like you find out like, oh, there's this other story that like no one ever mentioned before, but it came out now because you actually like brought out some of this stuff that no one's really brought out before.
Sure. Yeah. Now you obviously, you have a career doing this kind of or work in general, like, doing videography and cinematography and so forth. Like when do you have a preference between like the type of work that you do? Obviously, Frame Voyager and the Abandoned Camera series is awesome.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that would be something that you'd love to pursue, maybe as a full-time thing, maybe. I don't know. What are your preferences or types of, I guess, your dream scenario? What would be the best thing that can happen to you right now?
Yeah, I guess um I would love to just do full-time like YouTube work. It would be fun. But I still think that I sharpen my skills by doing a lot of other things. Like just like YouTube has probably really sharpened my editing skills. It is still good to go out and do stuff for clients and still like maintain a lot of that like filming and the production process, and then like I feel like both kind of builds on each other. So I kind of like both. I would say I would say I like editing at times better, but I do like filming at specific times as well. And I really we did some stuff early on in the channel that didn't get a ton of views, but more like cinematic travel documentary type stuff where
Seen those.
I went out to Alaska to the middle of nowhere and filmed. That's probably one of my more better technical like filming. I just love how that one came together. But I mean, I still love doing I love documentary work, and I'm actually like from doing YouTube, a lot of it's actually I've found things that work in YouTube to actually be able to offer to clients. I'm like, oh, why don't we do something this way? Here's a content idea you've never thought of. So in some way, even though I still have to do the other like normal stuff until the channel grows a little bit more. It's still helpful to have both. Yeah. And then both kind of help each other out with different things.
Right. I think you mentioned something too, and maybe you could kind of focus on that a little bit more too. Is what would you say for somebody who has thought about maybe producing YouTube videos, but maybe are a little skeptical that they could do it? What would you say to somebody who is maybe has a thought process of maybe starting there? What would you encourage them, or you'd say, nah, don't do it? It's too much work.
Yeah, I mean, I think YouTube's good to do. Like, there's no. I mean, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, like, you still learned valuable skills.
Yeah.
I mean, I started doing the YouTube stuff, and you can go back and look at some of our early stuff. It was not good, but it was just like, oh, let me just do this. This is a great like way to do stuff that I can't. When you're doing corporate work or like other projects, you don't get to control everything, and you don't do everything the way you want to or experiment as much as you want.
Yeah,
I kind of use this as a way to experiment and test things and you do my own creative expression and things, the way I wanted to do it. So I think if you're going into it, you should definitely go into it saying like, I want to do well in this. How do I learn it? Where are the good resources on YouTube? Like, I would say like vidIQ, Channel Makers, and there's a couple others that I'm always bouncing back and forth between different people who talk about how to make content and like the analytics behind it. And here's how you should edit a YouTube video and think about it. And one thing I always do is I'm not looking necessarily at video content within my niche. So while I will check out different camera videos and things going on in the industry for information, for all that, I don't really watch them as like for fun or for like research, where I'll go and a lot of the ideas I get for videos are not from this industry, so that's kind of how I approach it, is to bring some of that over to here because it's not really being done. So all that to say, like if you want, there should be nothing stopping you from doing a YouTube channel. And as long as you're approaching it with like, yeah, let me try to see what this can do. At the end of the day, it should be something that's fun, that you enjoy doing, and just figure out a good pace that you don't burn yourself out on. That's what I would say.
It's experience. You gain experience, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, it's made me, at this point, I've done like 200 videos, I think, about on YouTube, not even including like client videos. And I can see just going back and watching other videos, like, and different techniques I used that has just built upon each other. And where all of a sudden it used to be like, oh, YouTube videos were the easier ones to edit, my client ones were the harder ones to edit. It's completely different now. Like YouTube's really difficult to edit. Like that's
Yeah.
and my client ones, because it's like I've developed all these processes, it's so much easier to do client work now because I know how to go through
Cookie cutter
processes.
sort of
Yeah.
situation where
Yeah, and you just know, like with doing YouTube content, you just know how to cut content together because you've made so many videos. And I think that's one thing when you're doing client videos all the time is you're not doing something every week all the time. You always have projects here or there, so it kind of gives you it gives you a time in between to like practice things and try different things that you don't necessarily want to try on a client video.
Right. Gotcha. So when it comes to like your sourcing your material too, obviously client videos are going to be different than doing YouTube, videos, research specifically documentaries and so forth. Like, what are some resources that you go to be able to get your content?
As far as like trying to find sources for stuff
or even stock material or things that you recommend.
Yeah. So as far as stock stuff, I don't think I don't know. We're not sponsored by anything right now. Artlist. I mean, that's the hard thing with some of the companies is like, I love all of them. Then there's different ones I use for different things. Artlist is great. Artlist is probably my primary music thing. That's what I love it because it's like musicians playing music. But for like stuff in the videos, just like any stock video sites is always good to have things you can pull from quickly. One of the ones I really like is Storyblocks because you can actually like have a plugin in your video editor and you can just download it directly into your folder instead of having to like go online, search it out there. You can actually do it in the system, which is kind of how I've developed my editing style. Now, as far as sources, they're all over the place for our videos. It just depends on what it is. So we'll try to hunt down people who are connected to it. One of the abandoned episodes we have coming up, we actually have one of the CEOs who created this company around the camera that we're actually doing an interview with about this camera. And it's got some fun, spicy early camera days, like type of, early digital cinema camera type stories that are going to be involved in it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's kind of how, and then like articles, we try to stick within industry news articles with people who have like a history of being reputable as much as possible. And then sometimes you just go look for like fun dirt in like backroom chat forums and stuff because that's where all the fun conversations happen.
Yeah, gotcha. I happen to know some pretty decent questions in the chat. I don't know if you wanted to maybe.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let's go ahead and get some of these questions. Let me see. First off, is this stream going to be archived? Yes, it will be archived. You'll be able to watch it on YouTube under our podcast section, and then we're gonna have this is going to be streamed to Spotify, Apple Music, all that kind of stuff because it'll be turned into a podcast afterwards. Was there a moment I stopped and said, "Wow, I can't believe I'm filming this"?
I recognize that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a couple of clients that I have not gone back and filmed stuff with before for different reasons. So, but yeah, it's it's always interesting. Let me see here. Considered NASA as a source. They have tons of well-documented limited production cameras. Yes, I would look if you guys have a connection with NASA that I can get in, and they would like to be part of the history of the camera stuff. I would love to talk to them about their cameras because they've got cameras that go beyond even like stuff we've covered. So if you got a connection with NASA, let me know. Otherwise we'll try to do the other one. The drama explains a lot of what actually goes on to report the whole thing. It only makes sense that you added the drama. Yeah, and it makes it palatable because at the end of the day, like as I explained it to a lot of like people I try to like rope into doing videos with us is that it's great. There's plenty of people who do reviews and spec reviews on cameras, and I think it's good to talk about the people behind it and to like add like to humanize the cameras a little bit, the products and the history and stuff behind it, because there's usually a lot more behind it than just the specs to the camera weren't good. There was like there was a problem where they could only get the specific sensor because there's only so many sensors in the industry, and this company stole it from them or like was able to get a license before the other. And so that drama makes it super fun. And let's grab this last one before we go into like a fun break. Do cameras that have a huge production run but the manufacturer stopped production on, does that qualify as abandoned? I mean, let's just be honest. We're a little loose with our term for abandoned. I would say, like, if it's a discontinued, abandoned, I mean, technically the same thing. We do try to like stick the criteria enough where it's like, yeah, the camera was short-lived to a point, or it just didn't sell very well, and then they just kind of had to kill it, and they didn't continue the line. So there's some. It is a little bit tougher as we go through, and we've covered a lot of these cameras. So yeah, our criteria. Some people are like, "Oh, it's not really abandoned." I mean, that's fine. That's fine. But what are you gonna do? All right, let's go ahead and let's break and do a fun little show. We're gonna do meme this. I've got a selection of photos that we're gonna take a look at that I would like you all to comment on while we're talking on, and give me a good sense of what you think the meme should be. So to start out, let's do a little Fran 8K. Please caption this meme for us. What would you say? And we'll read these out too. So if you had to put text on this meme, you had to caption it, what would you say?
This should be interesting.
Yes. So please finish the meme for us. So we'll give you guys a couple seconds to write in a couple of chats. Fran 8K, man, though, just a great camera. I gotta give it to Alejandro Martin. He made probably the most memeable camera ever. Ugh. Look at these. Someone did comment that NASA not only has cameras, but some wild lenses too. I would love to check out those lenses. If any of you have joined, like, since we put up this meme, we're doing a little bit of a meme game. What would you meme this as? Finish the meme. Give us some text. So far, we have get Frand on. That's a. I'm not sure that's a meme, but I can get behind that. And Sean Lewis likes to say, when I stop laughing, I'll comment, cool. Okay, this is going great, guys. Meme this. Put out your best memes for this. Finish the meme for us. If you guys don't finish the meme, then we'll just move on to some more questions.
I'd be shocked that it was done.
You'd be shocked that
That the camera was done.
I know. All right. Well, maybe we'll come back to this game later on. You guys are a little bit more chat happy. That does happen a little later on the stream. So let's go back into a couple more questions. We'll throw some memes. You guys think about it, and we'll come back to that if we see some good ones in the comment. So, what are some other questions that you would have?
Yeah. So, when it comes to actual, work that you're doing, what kind of equipment do you typically work with? From production standpoint.
Yeah, that's a fun question. We use so much different stuff. I mean, it's hard. I primarily have used Blackmagic for the most part, and I think that's one thing that I would encourage most people. I'm not loyal to necessarily any camera brand at this point. And I'm open to using anything. So I've gone from using, all my Blackmagic stuff. I have a Pocket 4K, Pocket 6K Pro, an Ursa G2, Ursa 12K. I've also got a bunch of Sony cameras. I got a Sony FX30, a Sony A7 IV, Sony A7 III. I started off using the Sony A7S to film. So it really just depends on my suggestion to everyone is find out what exactly it is that you are trying to do and what works best with your workflow. Because at this point, there's so many good cameras that it doesn't even matter what you use. It's just learning how to use that specific camera. But I mean, so I'll fluctuate between different things. Like right now I'm using the FX30 because it's easy to hook up and do a live stream through. It looks great. It's got the autofocus. Other times I'll use the Ursa G2. Like for most of our videos, I'm using an Ursa G2 with like a Vespid Prime, like a Vespid 35 millimeter or 50 millimeter or something on there for our videos whenever I'm like on it. So, which is probably overkill, but it just determines what you do. I also have been using the Ronin 4D, which we're doing a project with DJI on that, which hopefully will come out soon, that we're working on. But yeah, so that's kind of my equipment overall. We just have a lot of different things for a lot of different projects because our projects are very varied, probably more so than I would say most normal contractors work.
For YouTube channel, I mean, what would you recommend there?
For a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it with your phone if you wanted to. Like
that's true.
at the end of the day, YouTube content comes out. I mean, look at like what's his name? There's a couple people who like they're not like great film production or like heavy graphics, but they do like fun things. Was it Ryan Trahan? Yeah, I think that's is one guy that's great. Like probably films with like a not like at this point probably a better camera, but like you could do most of the stuff he's doing with a cell phone, and then it's not like perfectly set up, it's not like perfectly angled or like super aesthetic. So unless you're wanting to be a Peter McKinnon or like you're wanting to do short films on YouTube, like I just start off with whatever you can, start making content and learn how to like make content that actually is interesting and entertaining and can hold people's attention. Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. It's better to have better audio and a video that actually like leads towards something and is interesting than just like super aesthetic video or footage. There are a ton of people that I really respect on YouTube that their channels are very, very aesthetically pleasing, but their content is kind of the same thing after a while. And you're not, I'm not watching like a documentary or something in that kind of sense. So you want to have it more than just like, oh, the best camera, the best lens. It's got to be perfectly color graded. It's got to be perfectly shot. If it's out of focus, like as long as you can sell the content and you actually understand how to make an interesting story out of your content, you're fine.
Yeah, I think for myself, that's one thing that I think I'm struggling with right now because I've got a Ursa G1 4.6K Pro. And it's a little overkill for what I'm trying to shoot because it's a little bit bigger camera. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there.
So you can see the challenges of filming with a camera like that. And of course, there's so much extras on there. It's just totally overkill. So yeah, maybe.
What do you feel like your biggest challenges are right now with filming?
Right. There's no space.
Yeah, I mean, for that, you could get a pocket camera, or you could even get like a Sony camera there, or like it would be interesting in like this kind of setup that you have here, maybe to even do like a like some GoPros on the inside.
Yeah,
I've used GoPros and stuff. They're super easy, super easy to set up, and if you break them, like they're cheap. They're really hard to break. So
right, yeah, that's another thing too. I've got like a glass over the lens and everything like that I've added just in case. I've had stuff explode, and I've got that recorded on my channel too. So if anyone's out there want to see some failures, check out my channel.
Yeah, check it out. We got his link in the description down to his channel. He is sponsoring today's podcast, this live stream, and some upcoming content as well. So check him out, subscribe to him, check him out. He's got some fun content coming up. All right, we've got some fun. Let me see. Back to our meme here, which is this. So we asked all of you to meme this. Give us a good meme that goes along with this. So here we got a couple different ones. Make sure this is one. When you have a ton of abandoned cameras, but the Fran 8K comes with the juicy, current, spicy drama. That's, yeah, I would go with that one. Mostly because I would totally give up most any abandoned cameras I have if there was some way that their Fran 8K still existed somewhere.
That's great.
Sean Lewis again. When you forget that the lady in the red dress isn't real. Okay. When you thought you found your soulmate, but it turns out she's just a Canon in disguise. Well, technically, he had like a red cover or something on this one, Philip Bloom. So she's beauty, she's grace, she's making you run out of space. The Ursa with love. meme. He said, I didn't have to worry. He said he was just a friend. Okay, that one. I would say that one wins. That one. And Tim Butt too. Hey, yes, we are live streaming. Tim is a great friend of the channel and is a frequent contributor on the podcast, and you'll probably hear from him. He'll be on other live streams in the future as well. Other girl should be the Alexa 35. Totally. Yeah, that one, Sean Lewis, that one definitely does win. Tracy Norell, you win the meme for this one. He said, I didn't have to worry. He said she was just a friend. That's perfect. Thank you. That's great. I'm going to use that on Twitter. And don't try to copyright strike me like Alejandro Martin. All right. Well, we're going to talk some more. Here is another one we can take a look at a meme on. All right. This is caption this meme for me, guys. You got Christopher Nolan looking lovingly upon an airy Alexa. Or that might be an LF. I'm not sure. But it's a digital camera, and he's looking at it. So give me some more memes while we keep talking. All right. Let me see. Let me kill back off of this. And there we go. Cool. All right. Where were we in the conversation?
Yeah. So with regard to like even production and
Yeah.
setup, how do you usually, when you shoot, for example, I'm assuming anyway, when you're working with your client, you kind of ascertain what sort of situation you're going to be in. What do you do with regard to lighting?
Yeah. So half the time, like a lot of my stuff is not stuff that's very, I would say, like is like controlled. Like you'll get photos from the clients or places. Like I don't really always have the luxury of like pre-scouting places or having the luxury of really lighting things a lot of the time. For some of my content, sometimes I get to do nice interviews where I get a couple hours to set up, which is awesome. So usually I just try to bring as much as lighting as I can because it's traveling. And I usually have to fly with all the equipment or like rent it and send it all out there. So, I use everything from like nan lights to small rigs lights to aperture lights. The one thing I would say is like having like a nice big dome, diffuser is really nice to just like spread that. Especially in certain places when you just need a lot of light. But I would travel with like 2 or 3 lights as much as you can with things. Try to get ones, especially if you know your clients are going to be asking you to shoot near daylight stuff that are higher powered. Like I think it is worth investing in a light that is both. You can change the color, temperature on, and the brightness on is definitely kind of a win. I would say, especially for traveling. Because, I mean, that's how most of my stuff, like, I don't have any clients, like, locally. So I'm always flying somewhere. So I'm always having to take into consideration, like, what's the best equipment to take? And that's usually how it goes. And a lot of times when we get lighting, because it's all run and gun, like, we show up, we have to film right away. So you get used to shooting with a lot of natural lighting and trying to make it work, even in dark situations, which comes down to understanding your camera and kind of figuring all that out.
Yeah, like what the ISO rating is on the camera. Optimal. Have you ever run to a situation where you went out to do a shoot and you didn't bring something that you needed?
Oh yeah, all the time. Tripods, specifically this is stupid because I should have some more like when this has happened, but I just I'm always changing how my travel kits are built out depending on the projects. But sometimes I'll forget like the base plates are still on the cameras. So I'll have the tripod, but I won't have a base plate. So thankfully, like I'll make it work with like light stands or some other janky setup. And to be honest, that is something you should get used to. You should try to prepare as much as you can and be on top of it as much as you can. You will, even as much as you try, you will still have times where things break on you, or you just totally forget something. There's so many details and so many things going on. It's just inevitable. So the best advice I give to people who are working on corporate shoots or any of this, I know you're like dying inside, but don't let the talent feel that negative energy. I would say stay fun, stay positive. And that's why I also like when I bring contractors on shoots and stuff, I like them to be very chill, very fun, easygoing. When things are going wrong, they don't flip out and freak out, because that's always that's not a good reflection to the client. I'm trying to make sure the client doesn't even know there's issues and we're just resolving them. And it's fun.
Right.
If there's a problem, if something messes up, you laugh, you make it more kind of fun.
Right. That makes total sense. So when you get to a shot though, like obviously, again, this is just in general as well. But when it comes to audio, you can mention, a good YouTube video, should have good audio. What do you do in various circumstances, to mitigate that?
For audio, for
doing a shot, and then also too for putting together something in production.
Yeah, so for YouTube stuff, I used to get criticized all the time because I would have a boom mic in front of my face, but I just liked how it sounded, and I would get nice, clear audio, and people wouldn't complain. But some people did complain. That's not the way you're supposed to use it. You're missing an opportunity to teach people. I'm like, I'm not trying to, like, if someone thinks that they need to put a boom arm in front of their face with their microphone for their client, they're like, that's their own problem for doing that. But to me, audio is important. And it's always having multiple sources of audio and different ways of doing it. So I like to travel with multiple boom mics. If I'm doing client stuff, multiple lapels. I've kind of upgraded my equipment over the years on what I use. I use DPA lavs, which are very, very, they don't break very easily. They almost sound like boom mics, in my opinion, a little bit. They're very expensive, but like when I'm filming in very loud environments or places where I just need them to perform, it works. So, but like just get some lavs, learn the best ways to mic up people in different situations, because the problem is you just don't think about it until you get on set. And some people wear like the weirdest stuff, or even like trying to like mic a shirt like this. Sure, you could tape it to the inside of here, or you could put it on the collar, but you have to understand, like, putting on the collar, how am I going to edit that in the audio side when I go back to production? And also having on the back end, I do have a funny sticker on my case from DPA that says "fix it in post," but they mark it out. But for me, it's like fix it in post. To have really good software. So one of the things I use in addition with Audition is Isotopes, which is it's like a audio restoration software that's it can really fix a lot of your problems, especially with noise, or like if you just have really terrible audio and you just need to fix it. It can suggest some things to you, and it can really clean up things to the point where it's like, it's fine. It's better than it would be if you try to do it with a normal Audition. So that's kind of one of the processes I use. One of the interesting things that are happening now is Adobe's voice enhance thing that they have, which is, it works sometimes, but it doesn't always work. And sometimes it has weird things. But I think in the future, AI, and a lot of that's going to help with mics and stuff. But I would suggest, audio learn. I know it's a hard point for video editors, but like, take the time to learn how to, like, at least semi-properly, like, know how things work and set up a good workflow in multiple different workflows for different mics, and test things out. And like that way, if you know how things can work, you can save yourself on a lot of times where the audio is just terrible.
Yeah, I know I even edited some videos and basically was like, well, can't use any of that.
Yeah.
Audio, no good.
No.
That's frustrating.
All right, let's take a quick look at some of these things real quick since we've been talking. All right, I asked you guys to meme this. Caption this meme. Christopher Nolan looking lovingly on a digital camera, which we all know he would never do. Let's see here. When you have a love affair with the camera, but it's a relationship you can't develop. Okay, that one is... Because you can't develop the digital. Gosh. Let's see. Is there anyone else that had one? I think that one's going to win, but I think that's the only one. Good job. Oh my gosh. Okay. Here's the next one, and then we're going to move on to some quizzes. Let's see. Actually, let's go ahead and move on to a quiz. We'll do this quiz. It is now, again, time for a fun little break. in between things so you guys could do stuff while we're talking and you could pay attention, because I know how everyone loves to multitask nowadays. We're going to do a Frame Voyager quiz. So for the first question, which I did have pulled up, but all right, you have to give me a second here, because go and ask me the next question. I'll get this thing pulled up.
Yeah, sure. With regard to your workflow, you're working in your projects and so forth. I noticed even when we were talking before, doing that, setting up the live stream, your production speed is amazing to me. Like, and obviously I'm new to this, but you can crank stuff out really quick. So generally speaking, like, how do you manage your media? What do you do with regard to tracking your footage and plugins and effects and I guess also too, what software do you work out of to improve your process?
Yeah, that's a great question. And before we get into that, if you guys want to look to your right, there is a question. The first question of this quiz segment while we're talking is, what camera is the first abandoned camera episode about? Is it about the Iconoscope, the AJA Scion, or the Ursa? We'll take a look at the poll here in a second. So yeah, speaking of how quickly we are able to get to projects, because we do turn things around. I will say this month we've only released one video, but typically we're a little bit better. It's really nailing down your process, having things like, I feel like even in different parts of our content, things are so similar. Learning how to let me just go through our production stuff. So usually if I have an idea, I'll put it in a Trello board, which is just like almost like you can move different cards around to different sections so we know where things are in production process. From there, the idea, like, we'll get a title, a thumbnail. You want to make sure your idea is like either like something that's trending or something that people are searching for, or that if you post it, people will probably generally watch it or your audience will like it. Like, a lot of our abandoned stuff is not trending. It's not really searchable. People aren't really searching for it, but people love the content. So it just gets pushed a little bit more. That's the first thing. Make sure you have a good video as best as you can. And then kind of from the editing standpoint, when I get into it, the best advice I ever got early on for editing was, let me pull this thing off. The best thing that I ever got from advice for editing was to approach it like you would in segments or in like an assembly line process. Don't try to just sit there and edit like as you're going along. You're editing both the audio, the video, the graphics, everything, just like in a linear timeline. So when I start off, we'll film everything. I'll go through, I'll cut down all the mistakes, and I'll get it down to where I want it. And then I'll go and section out the different places that if we have things we want to put in between it, if we have an intro, different things, I'll add those in. And then you just work from the beginning, lay things down, and then go back through and add things instead of like trying to do everything as you're going along, because you're switching like almost the creative parts of your brain or the task segments. So like you're constantly switching to a different task, where if you just did the same process over and over again and then go back to things that take longer at other times, instead of just like, the problem is, you get really excited about an idea, you start editing it, and then like you've wasted all this time and you haven't got anywhere near like getting like anything done. So then you feel like, man, I haven't really gotten anything done. And then you kind of give up to like the next day. So it's good to like, good motivation to like keep it going in an assembly line process, work on one piece of things like at once, and then learn to the point where like, okay, it's good. Now I can look at this from a creative perspective and like, I won't lose focus on it. So that's I would say is a good piece of advice. Also, again, like I said earlier, experience editing. Just like the more you edit, the more you see things, you're learning how to work yourself out of like bad like cuts or like tricky things. Like, how do I get this to work? Does this feel right? Why is this not working? Why isn't it working? You just gain so much experience that you don't even think about it anymore. Almost like I would say to someone who's a musician, because I play guitar or used to play guitar a lot. When you first learn how to strum a guitar, you're like learning in patterns. But after a while, you know all the patterns, and then you start like, you don't even think about it really. And a lot of times you're just blending different patterns together at different times when you're strumming, and you don't think about it. It's kind of the same thing with editing. when you've been doing it and you have a lot of experience with like specific problems, you just kind of like you intuitively know how to like try some different things to fix it and get it to work.
Yeah.
Or if something's just not working, you can tell it's not working
Right.
based
I
on
think-
yeah.
And you mentioned something to me too earlier with regard to starting or picking with starting with a thumbnail and a title, and then building a video around that, or
Yes.
kind of maintaining that theme. That's something I definitely will try, because I've got 3 videos that are well into the works of it, but I have not finished them at all. I get in, I'm like, all right, this is going to be great, and then I get the part that I really cared about, and then there's the rest. Just have to finish the rest. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's it is hard because you have to like think of like, it is really good to think about titles and thumbnails because you can figure out if your idea works. Like, I don't always follow it. There's times that I'm like rush. You can ask my Discord community because I'm always sending them thumbnails at the last, like, what do you guys think about this? Like, do you think this one's good or should I do something else? But yeah, like, it's always good to come up with a title or a general idea of what your title's going to be, something that's catchy, and understanding. It's almost like understanding, how do I take this really piece of interesting content, but also configure it in a way, in a topical sense, that people will think it's interesting and will want to click on it.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a little like clickbaity. And
Yeah.
this is something I get some people will accuse me for about. Mostly not YouTubers, people who are actually like really into you doing YouTube, is titling. I think there was recently, and a lot of times people get on me about like, I'll have like the truth about the digital IMAX camera or whatever. Like, yeah. I'm obviously not like saying, what I'm saying is like, I'm giving you as best information as I can. Is it like the ultimate, like, all whatever truth? No, it's a YouTube title, and like everyone does that, and most people who are on YouTube understand it's like, okay, he's not saying like it's the truth, so I think you gotta play into that a little bit, but you also have to deliver on what your title is saying. So like
dig
this
into it
recent
deeper, the truth is revealed.
This last video we did on and if you guys haven't watched it, go watch it, because it is one of those slow rising videos. But it's on this director who didn't exist, and all these like famous directors would use as a pseudonym. So we tested some different thumbnails, actually worked really well, that some people didn't like. We put like George Lucas and Spielberg on there and just said "not real?" ? And some people were like, "This is clickbait," and I'm like, but it's like the lightest kind of clickbait, like, and then like the title is like this director didn't, the legendary director who didn't exist, which is true. Like, and it actually is kind of makes sense. But so you want to clickbait it, but you also want to like clickbait them to watch something that's not even related to your video.
Right.
If that makes sense. I think that's when you start getting a lot more negative feedback, because most of it I'm looking for in the likes to dislikes ratio, because we can still see dislikes in the back end on our videos. You can tell when people are upset, or like really upset. But for the most part, even in those, we're like in the high 95 to 98% like to dislike ratio. And most of the comments are like, it's usually not that negative. So, because at the end of the day, your goal is to get other people to watch your content, and how do you frame it in a way that will get them to watch it? Because some topics are really interesting, but there's nothing about the topic that will get people to click on it in like a traditional sense. So you're trying to like inject something into it, if that makes sense.
Most and likely to your community that gets the joke, so to speak. Like, when I saw that title, I just laughed on it and clicked on it. I was like, oh, we're gonna do this.
Yeah. Which I'm expecting it.
Yeah.
I know people, like, that's the thing. When doing YouTube, you have to have a little bit of a thick skin and just be like, most of the time I'll just like post funny like comments that I get from people. I actually like anytime, like it's fun. It's fun anytime it happens. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and end that poll. Man, it is a tie. We had asked, let's see if it pops up, what camera is the first abandoned camera episode that we did, and it was 16% of you said the Iconoscope. And 41% said the Ursa, and 41% said the AJA Scion. It's the Ursa. So it was interesting. A lot of people think the Scion's like their favorite episode. It's the first one they came in on, but we did in fact do the Ursa first. So let's go
I
and
almost
go
bought
another
that.
poll started. The next question, while we keep talking and you guys do it. I see Scott's watching this, so he'll love this question here. I was kind of VP on this one for this. Who currently runs Red Digital Cinema? Is it here? I'm gonna put this up. Go ahead and ask the next question. I'll get this going before we do that.
Sure. Yeah. So what software do you typically use to edit?
Yes, that one will be a fun one. Okay, here we go. Who currently runs Red Digital Cinema? Is it Alejandro Martin, Jim Jannard, The Devil, or Jared Land? Scott says he can't answer. So you guys have a fun time with that poll. I feel like I know how that's gonna go. All right. Let's go ahead. Well, before I get into that, let's go ahead and answer a couple of questions because there's been a couple of ones in here. My favorite metaphor for life is the following: if you got a poo, make it a stinky poo because if it's the stinkiest poo, are consequently the most satisfying. That's some good life advice right there. Let's see here. Oh, that's a different one. Let's see. Maybe there weren't as many questions as it looked like. Yeah, there wasn't. Actually, I thought there was some. Never mind. So we can continue. So we're going into now the topic that everyone loves to like act shocked about, the fact about me, which is what do I edit with? What is my favorite editing software? I can tell you right now, I do not use DaVinci Resolve. I am not part of those who I'm not part of those who've made the jump. I am still using Premiere Pro. I've used Premiere Pro forever. And it's not that I don't think DaVinci Resolve is an excellent video editor. It's just I am so ingrained in Premiere Pro. I've got it hooked up with like 2 stream decks, a loop deck, custom, like so many custom built third-party plugins that help me do things so quickly. Also, I do things in Premiere that probably shouldn't be done in Premiere, but should probably be done in After Effects, but that also saves me a lot of time. So, I mean, plugins I use are like Red Giant by Maxon. That helps with a lot of, I would say, like quick needing like some effects type stuff. Film Convert's a good one. I like using Film Convert for specific projects. AE Juice is one that I used a lot. And it's actually better now that I got a new computer with a better graphics card. But it's like so many different graphic stuff that you can. It's very easy to select and do. It's almost like this own little program for Premiere Pro, and that's where I use a lot of my graphics and stuff like that. And then Film Impact is where I use a lot of transitions and stuff. So I try to have as much as I can built into Premiere Pro. So as I am doing things, I don't have to go other places to do stuff. So again, it's editing efficiency for me. And I know I don't experience as many crashes in the traditional sense of Premiere Pro. The crashes that I experience would also probably crash any other NLE because I try to do way too much when it comes to graphic stuff, but it's fine. Now I got the graphics card to handle it. But yeah, so I think it doesn't really matter which editing software you use, especially not for YouTube. I think Premiere Pro offers me like a ton of it. Like it just works well with my workflow. I like the ability to go on Audition and stuff like that. And it just works well with all my custom plugins and stuff. So I guess that, I mean, that I'm trying to figure out a better way to answer that. But yeah, like Premiere Pro is where I'm at, and I can pump content out of Premiere Pro. And as much as I would love to do more in DaVinci Resolve, yeah, it would take me way too long to figure out and transition everything into it, I guess.
Right. Do you have any hardware that you use in connection with Premiere at all that helps for editing, like NLEs or anything like that?
Yeah, so a couple like things that I think are not necessarily as well known would be for custom hotkeys. There's this program called Excalibur that will actually allow you to do it, like has some kind of weird script thing where it allows you to actually hotkey things that Premiere Pro does not actually allow you to hotkey. So like if you need to fill the frame with an image because it's not fitting properly, it'll just like automatically do it for you. It's like a hotkey for nesting files, for all these other like effects that are great. Also, I would, for like doing keyframing and stuff on any program, Loop Deck. Loop Deck's great. I love using Loop Deck because it's got, let me see, actually, just pull this up. So Loop Decks are great because it gives you a bunch of little options, and it actually has a lot of haptic controls on each of these, which is usually lit up when it's plugged in. Yep. But you have all these little knobs that you can use in Premiere Pro, and these like work with DaVinci Resolve too. But it's very easy to like keyframe things or zoom in or move things in specifically instead of trying to do it with a mouse, and it saves a lot of time. So that's kind of the stuff I do. When it comes to that, Stream Decks are big. I pretty much don't even use a keyboard for stuff. Like when I'm editing, I have it all built out like almost like I'm playing a video game, you know, like with the how everything's close together.
Sure.
So everything I use a lot, especially with cutting, and then you can even build different presets that are for specific different parts of the edit. So you can kind of see like, and I'm barely even scratching the surface of how complicated some of my stuff is, but like it's just little tricks and techniques I've learned over the years to make my content editing faster and just to make everything flow together faster. So I'm not having to like when you're doing processes over and over again, if you can cut a couple of seconds off of them, it saves you so much time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where
that makes sense. Just, I know, like I said, my limited experience, it's so tedious, right?
Yeah.
There's just so much to do. And anything that I guess it would save time.
And I would say, because this is a mountain of stuff I'm talking about, take it one thing at a time. Find one thing in your process that you're doing that would be made easier, and do some research on it. See if there's a way to do it, if there's a faster way to do it. And then that's how I've approached it. Like, because if you try to change all this stuff all at once and then have all these things, you just don't learn it that well.
Yeah,
or intuitively get to learn. Yeah. So slowly add things to your arsenal as you're editing and solve like, okay, this is taking me a while. Is there a better way to do this in the future? That's kind of how I approach it.
Yeah, I have about 5 months experience in Premiere, and it's only like several hours a week, sort of situation. So it's tough. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, we're gonna end the poll. Who currently runs Red Digital Cinema? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and end this. Here we have 13% say Jared Land, 20% say Jim Jannard, 20% said Alejandro Martin, and 46% said the devil. So
accurate.
More of a joke, more tongue in cheek. But
get a cease and desist now.
Yeah. So let's go through a couple of the comments here. Ranger 7 Studios. Good to see you. I hung out with him a lot at NAB at a creators thing. It was fun. It was fun getting to meet all the different people online, in person, for once in Vegas. Yes, Resolve is not user friendly. Not right off the bat. I feel like I could get used to it, but it's not as I just couldn't pick it up as quick as Premiere Pro. But it's also because I've been using it a lot. My biggest complaint is with Premiere Pro is always stop crashing, or was my biggest resolve with Resolve. Why can't I have a default font? Yeah, that's. I think when you get past the fact of like the crashing part, I'm a little bit more of a computer nerd and understanding how and like back end of stuff. So I understand why things crash most of the time, and like the bugs and stuff that are typical. Like I don't necessarily have those. I have unusual bugs because I probably push things to the limit that they were never designed for. So that's more of my problems. What one thing did you want each major camera manufacturer to change? Interesting. Okay. That's a good one. Sony, super easy. Change your freaking menu system. That menu system is awful. First one off the bat. Airy. It's a hard one. I would say make your booth better at NME. be a little bit more fun. That's just you guys are great, but you're not a lot of fun. Red, I'm trying to think red as of now, what I would think. Because it's hard, because there's a lot of stuff I would say early on, I would say to red, but a lot of it has changed with them now, with some of their they're not like necessarily the same company that they used to be. Black Magic Design, come up with some fun marketing. You have a freaking cool name, and it looks like just the most boring.
Shorter names.
Oh gosh, naming convention. Yes. Let me see. I didn't. No, I didn't. I mean, it's fine. There's a bunch of them that do the live band, but I tried to actually like enter their booth, and there was nowhere to like enter it from. Like it wasn't very like much set up for you to go kind of like hang out. And do that, but oh yeah. Fun. Okay, so for the next question, what is Frame Voyager's real name? Because this is something that I did not realize was a problem in the community. My name. So is my name Alejandro Martin? Is it John? Oh, Facebook notification. Is it Peter? Or is my name legally Frame Voyager? You guys go ahead and fight that out in the comments there. While we continue with our conversation, what more do you got for me there, George?
Yeah, absolutely. So with regard to shooting formats, what do you shoot with, on a day-to-day? And maybe I don't want to like pick, make you pick enemies. Like people are going to call you out or whatever. But
as far as like codec formats,
codec formats, and kind of related to that too, with regard to like question for color grading.
Yeah, I like B-Raw. If B-Raw could be in every single camera, I would use it. It's part of it's just my workflow with it. Like I just know how to use it. I know how to set a camera. And I know what looks good in B-Raw that will look good when I bring it over to my computer and I try to like color grade it or post process it. But I use everything. I mean, I've used ProRes. I've used Sony's S-Log3. I use Cinema DNG. I was having to refigure out how to do that with the Iconoscope ACAM D2 that we have, one of the abandoned cameras. So yeah, so it's like pretty much all of them. Honestly, it's good. It is good practice to kind of learn how to like deal with all of them, and like good ways to convert to Rec 709 when you need to. If you just need to do quick and dirty and you're not just trying to like hand do it. I'm not a colorist, so I've figured out some good ones. Usually there's like some good. I like converting from like Airy has really good. Like to Rec 709 converts from log or raw formats that I use a lot, and most of the time they're pretty good for most of those formats. Other times I just have to go to the manufacturer and then find some or like build my own. But yeah, that's kind of how I do that. It's all over the place.
Do you shoot with like a LUT built in, or do you just leave everything off and then you just apply the LUT?
Yeah, I don't burn LUTs in. I usually like to have everything in log, unless it's not. Unless I'm, it depends on what I'm filming. Like for this, I'm not doing it in log, but for like most projects, I like to do it in log. So I have a lot of different options, I guess, especially because I do so much run and gun stuff. I like to be able to like, if I'm not setting something perfectly, that's kind of how I go from it.
What format would you say would be that you're comfortable with when you have, say, a shortage of space? You shoot in proxy or whatever?
Oh, I never shoot in proxy. No, I'm pretty bad about how large. I don't really care. I don't even really think about it at this point. I probably have like 250 to 300 terabytes of storage set up in. I just got this new computer where I'm finally able to use this like M.2 SSD enclosure, which makes it so nice. But I also have like this really weird daisy chained data volume combined of like probably 200 terabytes of stuff that's down in my garage or my studio, essentially, that I also can connect through my Wi-Fi or just through my internet. So I think it's always good to have backups. Backups is so important because I've lost stuff before, and when you lose things, you just never want to again. So yeah, it's kind of it. I would not emulate me for how I do storage stuff and how I keep everything.
When you're on a shoot, what do you usually take with you?
Usually I'm usually taking like Samsung T5s or T7s. It also depends on the camera of what they use. Other times, Lacy hard drives, they are slow as crap, but they will not break on you. So I will use those a lot of times where I'll dump stuff over to them. When I'm on shoots, I like to have smaller cards, like 500 gigabytes. That way, when I'm filming throughout the day, I'm changing them. So that way, if like one of them does break, we didn't lose everything. Right. Oh, and it's like there's less, it's less chances for one to break. And then I'm always like doing that and then making sure I have enough where I'm leaving the files on those, but I'm also dumping them onto something else. Yeah.
Yeah. That's maybe it's a rich man's game. Like media is so expensive.
It is.
Camera media. It's just ridiculous there.
Oh, it's so expensive. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and end this poll. What is Frame Voyager's real name? Is it 9% of you said Peter. It's kind of just an interesting one. Frame Voyager came in at 27%. Alejandro Martin came in at 27%, and John at 36%. Yes, it is John. I'm glad a couple of you actually know my name. I might have to actually start saying it soon because a lot of people only know me as Frame Voyager. So. Okay. Let me see. Okay, we're gonna go into another section before we keep going to some more I would say questions. You got a couple more from me, right?
Oh yeah.
All right. Oh. All right, now we're gonna go into our favorite section about our favorite hate comments that we've gotten on the channel, so we're going to show a couple of those as we go. But as I'm seeing this, I see Scott Balcom has said, you never answered the red question. Which one was that? If I like red or not? And then you also asked, what streaming service am I using? I'm using Restream.io. It's actually pretty easy to use. It makes it easy to connect like this, and honestly, I'm not doing anything crazy, so it Who runs red? Oh, no, we did that. Did you miss that? The devil one at 46%. But Jared, I would say Jared Land does. I would agree with you. Like, who runs red? You probably know better than I would say Jared Land does at this point. That's what I'm going to say.
Might need to fact check that.
That's what it says on, that's what it says in the news. So. All right. Okay. Yes, very much Jared. Yeah, Jared's been the guy since the whole he's been the guy for a while. Pretty much whenever Jim Jenner took off to do the hydrogen camera or phone thing, which is super fun. But anyways, let's go to the fun comments that we love. I know a lot of you guys really liked this one. Let me clear that chat real quick. Someone asked, why do you wear a woolen cap? Is it so cold in your little studio? And if I wanted to keep too many female fans at a distance, and it should work. My wife concurred with this comment, but I do know there's some fans on our channel that really want to see me back in the beanie, so I might have to pull that back out here at some point. Said that they don't recognize me without the beanie. So that was a fun one. We get some fun comments. Another fun one we got was on emotional damage. This video is on our 3D video where the title, I mean, obviously I kind of expected to get some hate on this, but I don't think people actually knew what the video was about. It's called Why 3D Movies Suck. And he said, this video is gaslighting, research put to a disingenuous purpose. Why don't you just pluck out one of your eyes, rip it out, sever it, gouge it? That way you won't be able to see 3D naturally, and 3D movies won't upset you anymore. I posted this on Twitter, and we got actually and made a little joke about it, and we got a lot of views on that from that comment. So I want to thank that guy a lot for that. And then here, lastly, to close it out, too much advertising attached to your puny channel.
Wow.
A lot of emotional damage, I gotta say. It's fun being a YouTuber. And are you really a YouTuber without some bad comments towards you? You just gotta laugh at them. Gotta laugh at them. Let me see. This I feel attacked. I got a beanie on right now. Yeah. I mean, technically, in the terms of YouTube, I'm still pretty small. Which again, we passed 50,000 subscribers, which I haven't mentioned a little bit. One of our guys, Sean Lewis, told me in our Discord that I had to do a live stream about it. So this was my idea to do it, to talk about a little bit about the Abandoned Camera series, how we put that together, answer some fun questions, and yeah, thanks guys on 50,000. Still kind of weird. It is one of those things where it's like everyone like, oh, you really want to hit it, but then as soon as you start getting videos with like hundreds of thousands of views, or we just had the one video we have that has like over 1 million views, it's great, but you also feel like very exposed. There's a lot of people watching my content, and but it's great. It's cool. This community was always started off as like a way to kind of build like a fun community around cinema and all of that, and not like demonize anyone or keep anyone out because you're not in the specific industry you're in, or like oh, you use like, look, we do make a lot of red camera jokes, but I don't like hate people that like red cameras. Like, it's fine. They make great cameras. So it's just like a fun community. Like, talk about history, talk about that. Doesn't matter what part of the industry you're in. It's just trying to build the fun community. So you guys make the channel worth it. 50,000 is great as far as that standpoint, but it wouldn't be worth it if we didn't have like such a great community, and an active community. People are always commenting in our videos, and usually nice things.
Yeah, congratulations! It's awesome.
Thank you.
You're gonna pass. You know, we'll meet back next week for 100,000.
Yeah, I do. If you guys can help me hit 100, that would be great. I would really like to get the play button, just so when that's done, I don't even have to really think about. I don't have to think about it anymore. I'm just done.
You have something physical to show for it anyway. All that hard work.
Yes.
No, that's great. That's wonderful. Yeah, this channel's growing so fast, so quickly. It's phenomenal. I mean, testament to the quality of the content, though. You know?
Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting. Like, we're still trying to improve on stuff. It's always, I think, anytime you do YouTube content or you do well with it, you still get the imposter syndrome of like, I shouldn't be doing, like, I can't believe people are actually watching this. I can't believe, that kind of stuff. So, which, doubt to anyone, just keep plugging along. If people like your content, I mean, yeah, everyone's going to be their own worst critic about their content. So I think it's a good philosophy to have anyways, because it pushes you to do better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good deal. It's a good problem to have too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
No, it's wonderful.
Any other questions? And chat, feel free, because do we have a lot of more questions, or are we kind of winding down?
I got a few more.
Okay, cool.
Yep,
feel free, guys, keep asking questions in the chat. I'll answer some as we kind of go along.
Sounds good. Is it okay for me to ask you a question?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
All right, sounds good. So with regard to editing, let's say you got a long shot you're gonna do, even when you're doing, let's say you're providing an interview from a video for an abandoned video, for example.
Yeah.
What do you typically do though to make that media a little more attractive for your audience, where they're not not wandering from looking at it? It's
Yeah. So like when you
audience
click on it,
attention.
you're watching it. What
Yeah,
keeps them on
yeah,
it? So I mean, there's a lot of things. Some of it is keeping it paced well. It is learning how to pace your content correctly, because not every content's going to be paced at the same time or the same way. Ours, we do cut out a lot of breaths. I do leave some in to keep it natural as much as possible, but you want like that nice pace. One of the things I do, and specifically tell a lot of people who help us edit in different regards, is to treat them like almost like each segment as its own video. So you'll notice we don't really crank music a lot, because I don't, except for specific moments. You really got to keep your music like -20, -25 decibels below the voiceover volume or the talking volume, and then ramp it up at specific moments when you want to add that dynamic. Because if you just have it like blasting the entire time, or even loud, you just lose any dynamics you can play around with that content.
Yeah.
Music.
Do you notice any audience retention drop from that at all, or?
Not typically.
No.
Not usually. Like if you're doing things too loud and they
Yeah.
I haven't in a while. Let's just put it that way. You really do want to keep it lower, and you want to pick specific music that fits well with it. And you'll notice on a lot of our videos, our styles change from video to video.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So one of the big things I do is I'm always looking for good music every time I'm doing a project, because a lot of times I'll help build a lot of it around the music, and the music will help me come up with ideas on how to like make intros or do this like interesting little piece to kind of make it interesting. But in general, I like to make my intros a little bit more story driven, or a little bit more like you want to capture their attention. Like, this is the topic we're talking about. This is why it's interesting. And here's little tidbits that you can expect in the video. Let's talk about it. Fun intro. We don't You'll notice the only one that we really do the same is the abandoned intro, because it's just fun. But past that, we don't really do. Everything's different. We usually have we either don't have an intro, we do something that's different or funny that relates to the thing. So it's always different, and it's never like the same intro, because you don't really want to do. If you're going to do an intro, keep it to like 3 seconds, or if even that. You don't want that. That's people are going to drop off. They're going to go past it. So I'm usually looking to keep that first 30 seconds really high. Like, for the most part, on our first 30 seconds on our videos, we usually have like 70 to 77% retention rates.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Experimenting with that, learning how to segment your video in a way. A lot of it does come down to like good writing and understanding like structure. Not all of our videos are great, but like looking at it and then like reconfiguring it to fit a good narrative and then fitting things in. One thing I like to really do is find little interview segments or little clips from the internet that are related to our content or something, and add them in. And you don't ever want to use that kind of content that takes away from, like, for fair use. You really don't want to take it away where it's like they couldn't go watch that video and it's like the same thing as watching it on your channel. You want to use it to either explain something or to add it in. But I use almost like little, I would say, brain breaks. If we're talking about something really technical, you'll want to give people like a little bit of time, like to process it and move on. Otherwise, if you're just like bam, information, like eventually they're going to lose it. But if you give them like their brain just like a little bit of a break with some other kind of content besides like your voice or changing the music or like doing something funny, it helps them process, it helps them stay on the video. So you want to like, as you're watching it, a really good test is like you watching it or getting someone else to watch it and like check to see the moments that they'll tune out of the content, or that you feel like you're tuning out of the content. And you're like, okay, what is making me do that? And how can I like adjust that? So we usually go through several rounds of like, I'll send it to my writers. My writers will give me pretty good feedback. And then I'll show it to different people if we have time. But you kind of learn how to make little adjustments and edits to like your content to get people to continue to watch. It doesn't always work. There's some stuff, it's going to be like, if we have 20-minute content, like you're probably only going to have like 30 by the end of it, maybe like 30% of people watching till the end, which is fine. Yeah. Like when you have longer content, that's to be expected. It's just trying to keep that graph, that engagement graph, when it comes down right from that, just like keep it nice and steady, through the rest of the thing. And as long as you can do that and it's just like a slow, gradual decline, you're great. It's when you just have like big dips That's
Right.
the big
Yeah,
problem.
that's struggle. Well, I'm just gonna say this. I know from YouTube video intros, they usually say don't do them. Um,
Hmm.
because they're usually not appropriate or whatever. But I don't know what you, but like I skip those usually, but I do have to say, the abandoned camera intro. I don't know what the sounds or something. To me, I just turn it up. I pay attention to those that
And some of
intro
that's
because it's
music
awesome. Like,
selection, and some
yeah,
of that's
like
also because it's
how did you do
funny.
that? Like, did you like? I mean, do you source the audio or did you like mix it yourself or like?
Yeah, so I mean, I got it from Artlist, but I mean, it is like it's definitely not cut that. I mean, I cut it
Yeah,
that way. So
yeah,
I'm very, yeah. A lot of our music, a lot of people are like, "Oh, is that custom music? Where'd you get that from?" I'm just
yeah. It's
really
awesome.
good at like cutting music together to make it work for specific things. And I think if there's one thing people should really pay attention to, it's like pick. Don't just be like quick to pick your music. Take time to think about how this music relates to your subject, and then even like maybe make some music that like maybe is like a little out there. Like I like to pick music that maybe is not necessarily like a typical genre or like you'd normally hear on YouTube. I like
Right.
to pick some out there weird music or do like funny things with the music, even like with vocals and different things to kind of like shake it up. That way people it's just like a little bit different. And then
Right.
even like theming videos or theming sections a certain way, like if it's about something dark and sinister, don't like overplay it. Find something that works. And there's different like frequency levels and there's different like it is yeah you could go I could go do a whole video on like song selection and how to pick it, but a lot of it
Yeah.
is personal preference and just playing around with things. But
How long does it usually take you to you know when you're doing song selection? Like, is there a time where you just say, okay, forget it, I got to move on, or do you just say, no, this video it isn't right, so I'm not going to release it yet. It's gonna sit until it's right.
I don't do that very often. A lot of times
Yeah.
I'll just like, okay, the video's good as it is, because it's like after a while you could just stare at something for a while, but and like there's problems with it, but most of the time most people won't notice the problem. So as long as like the problems aren't like in the content like structure of it and it's just like a couple little like I don't really care. I mean, we're making YouTube content. I'm not making a film that's gonna it's going to be expected. I'm going to have mistakes and I can't be perfect on it. If I'm trying to be perfect on it, then then I can't, then I'll never finish all my projects and I have a billion other things. So at some
Right.
point you gotta just end it. You gotta come to like, okay, it's an acceptable place. Sure, there's probably a couple of things, whatever, but most of it's stuff that no one would even realize. And like, you always have to ask, does this even add value to it? Like, sometimes I love like you have to also pick and choose. Like the whole video shouldn't just be like a mass graphics. Like a lot of people do that. It's great if you do that, but it's very time consuming. Do you have to like do these ornate graphics to like convey something, or is there a way that you can convey it that's entertaining but it's also easier to do? And that's kind of what I look at when I do stuff. Now we also do like crazy graphics, but a lot of those like I have presets. I have built that over time.
Yeah, actually related to that too. With regard to the presets that you use, what are some recommendations for the best ways to save time, in general? And we kind of covered a little bit of it.
Find pain points, figure
Yeah.
out what exactly you're going to be reusing and your editing style, and like find resources that you can build around that are easy to manage, that are easy to manage in storage, and that don't take forever to like process or to edit, or you got to go through all these like hoops. Like there's all these like programs I would love to use, but I'm not going to use them because they're not integrated into the software that I'm using, unless it's something very specific. So I try to find things that I don't have to go searching for very far, or I have to like go through multiple steps. The less steps that gets it into the project that keeps my creative flow going is the better, because as a creative, when you're editing, it is so easy to get distracted and just have your like, you could be going. And then it's like, then you're trying to like do this one thing and it takes forever. And then you just lose all momentum and then your project slows down. So figuring out those pain points that you typically have in your edit with the content you're doing and figuring out how to manage those is very key into learning how to make it fast. Like I said, you process this over time, but like definitely slowly kind of figure it out.
Gotcha. Now I've seen like YouTubers, some like really popular YouTubers. I noticed like they're like, even when it comes to creating content,
Mhm.
on YouTube, I noticed that a lot of them seem to slow down in creating content, while others seem to just kind of they fill their channel with content regularly.
Yeah.
I guess what would you say, especially for somebody starting out? What do you think that they should do? Focus on quality or quantity?
Uh, both in a sense. Like you want,
Yeah.
I mean, quality's great, and you should focus on quality, but you also need to get content out there to see how it performs, and then, I mean, if it's not working, then try something else and like get better at the quality. I would say, yeah. I mean, my thing's always been more like quality is good because it will keep people around a while and it'll keep them coming back. So at some
Yeah.
point you do have to move into that. But at the end of the day, you got to get started somewhere, and your stuff, if you have not done this before, it's going to like, I'm trying to start other channels and other things too that I'm going to be announcing here soon. Even in that, like trying to create other content is not easy. Like you got to get into a flow. You've got to test things out. You've got to like figure it out, because a lot of our content that we do is so structured, even in all of it, that I know exactly how to put it together really quickly. And it's a formula that works. And I'm always tweaking it to fit that. But if you try to do other things, it's going to change. So you just got to you got to get out there and do it. Because if you don't do it, you're not actually going to get good at it. But when you do start it, if you haven't done it before, you're probably not going to be good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
true. Yeah.
that's how I
know.
look at it. Yeah.
I look at the videos. I go back and I go, yeah, that was a little rough.
Yeah, which is fine. Like
Yeah.
I still have a bunch of videos that are up that are rough. I mean, I could go back last year and there's videos. I'm like, gosh, I can't believe I made that. Yeah. Cool. Actually, there's a couple of questions in here, so I'm going to go ahead and answer a couple of them so we can catch up here. At what point would you consider yourself a successful YouTuber? I guess there's different measures for success that are not necessarily financial. Because a lot of the benefits of being a YouTuber would be non-financial, that you could turn into like revenue down the line in other ways. A lot of it's connections. A lot of it's it's something like, this is like, my channel is something I use to pitch to clients. Is like, look, I know what I'm doing. I mean, you guys dump all this money into content, but I'm also the one that doesn't really. I mean, I spend, but I like not as much as you do, and I'm getting like hundreds of thousands of views, where you're like getting like, I don't know, maybe 1,000. So to me, that's successful when you can show that you can repeat like the formula of a sense of like making content that people watch, people comment on, and that is regularly like hitting higher and higher and higher marks. Especially like, I mean, you're doing something right if you can hit view counts above your subscriber counts. And that's what we do all the time. So I think that matters even more than subscribers. But I mean, from a financial sense, yeah, it would be success. I mean, you can get plenty of sponsorships and stuff at this level. But at the end of the day, you gotta like, there's a little bit more business like stuff you got to do in the back end than just relying on AdSense and sponsorships and stuff. It's the relationships and the different opportunities you kind of develop, especially within like the niche I'm in. Let me see. Scott, I'm fairly confident you aren't making a living from YouTube yet. What is your day job? I do a bunch of contract work, especially in the manufacturing space. I do stuff actually pretty much all around the world. I don't really have a lot of local clients, so I'm always traveling. I do almost like, I would say in the manufacturing space is kind of odd, the spot I'm in, but I almost do like you could imagine like an HGTV show that's around like any kind of topic. That's kind of what I do in the manufacturing space, where we go to these cool places and I help them come up with ways to make like boring engineering topics interesting and fun. So that kind of stuff to a point. Documentary stuff around the world with like nonprofits. I also have a bunch of other corporate clients that I'll go film stuff with them. Again, I get brought in to make like stuff, make just work, especially with edits. Like I'll just get send stuff all the time that's like not even connected, and like, we really need this to be something. and that's how I'll, so I kind of make a lot of my money there from a corporate sense. And YouTube's just helped like enable me even more in that. So that's kind of what I do. But YouTube, honestly, like I would say I have 2 full-time jobs. It's both corporate and it's both YouTube. So in a sense, I kind of, and we actually do make, I mean, like so far, like you can go watch our video from when we hit like 25,000 subscribers last year and how much we were making from AdSense and sponsorships and stuff. We got like a year-long sponsorship with Squarespace. We've got, sponsorships with Film Convert and all these different people that are coming in all the time. So it's not terrible. It's enough for me to constantly be able to pay my writers and researchers and pay for editors on specific videos, I would say. And also, we have George here, who's also sponsored our content. So it's a great way. Yeah. So not necessarily my full-time job, but it kind of is at this point. Let me see.
Have you ever used your YouTube channel to help land a day job? Work for a day job.
YouTube to like get a contract. Yeah,
like show a client, hey, this is kind of some stuff that I do. But not show them your,
even the clients I've had for years. I'll show them like look what I'm doing. It's a great way to show too, especially looking younger and all that. There's a little bit of the thing in the industry where it's like, oh, you're young. What do you know? How to like? I'm like, well, I've done it myself. I've developed this whole thing of this whole community. I have all this stuff to kind of show, and I think it's very valuable, kind of in that sense. You see what a couple more of these questions are here in this. This is a question. Yep. It is one of those things that you do have to learn when people comment on your content that just there's people who will say things about my content and I'm like, okay, you don't understand YouTube content and you also don't understand how to edit and how people watch YouTube content because you probably aren't on, like, you're probably not my viewer. And you need to learn how to identify those people when you're making content. Like one of the things with people, some people don't like how quick our content is or like the cutting and like, it's very jarring. And I'm like, yeah, you must not watch a lot of social media because we're used to that at that point. And if you don't do that, you lose in, retention or the way we structure things or different things. So you just have to learn because there are those people sometimes that will inform you and you're like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Perfect. That's something I can fix later on. But there's also people who just don't know what they're talking about when it comes to content or titles or this is clickbait. And I'm like, I don't know. I have a 98% like to dislike ratio. So I'm going to say it's probably not and if it is, it's not that bad. So yeah, I agree. It's good to find those people and identify them, but you just got to be careful sometimes.
Somebody posted in the chat, George Marsack is shooting with an f1.2. Well, it's a T2.1.
Yeah, you got a little more distance than I do back there. Ultra specific. Yeah. Ultra specific nitpicks are my favorite. Like your advice. Yeah, I mean, there are people, and I always go click on their profile, and it's like usually the people who are trying to tell you stuff have 50 subscribers, or they just have not spent enough time in it to actually understand the content. And you can usually tell, you can almost profile people to a sense, and you're really not on YouTube that much because this is all these other people do. So I try to, as someone once told me, or I think this might be a quote. I'm not sure, someone once told me, you should take advice from people you want to, who you want to achieve similar things to what they've achieved. You shouldn't take advice from people who are not beneath you, but that are not doing the things that you're trying to achieve. Because a lot of times they're not going to give you good advice for what you should be doing. And to that, I will also say, some ways you have to chart your own success. You can't always just follow everyone else's success. All these self-help books from all these CEOs and stuff, it's that's great, but you can take bits and pieces of that, but like you can't emulate someone else's success, because sometimes you're going to find it in your own way, and sometimes that's fine. But like I said, like if you're going to take advice, take it from someone who's somewhere that you want to be. They're already there, not someone who's like in the same place as you or behind you. Now with peers, like at the same place, you guys can share information and all that and share different things. But yeah, take the advice seriously from people who are places you want to be, not know where you want to be. So, and coming in, Cheecken, you guys say hello to him. He helps write some of our very technical videos, and yeah, I would not be able to do like the digital IMAX video if he was not helping me research and write that. That video would still not be out. So you could thank him for some of our best like technical in-depth stuff. He nerds out over stuff that I don't even like nerd out over, which is great. So say hi to him. Yes. In an ideal world, we would need sponsors or click-worthy thumbnails or even good editing, yet we still live in a real one. Absolutely. And you have to play the game in the YouTube sense. Yeah, exactly. Cheecken going union. Yeah, don't... Yeah, they're part of the writer's strike. That's why we haven't had any content this month. Let me see. A couple other questions here. What's your next prediction for next event? Okay, so if I say this, do you think, Scott, if you're still there, if I say a red camera is going to be the next one to be abandoned, do you think they're going to send one to me like I got sent to run in 4D when I said that? Because I'll say that.
I like Area Alexa 35.
Yes.
Ari can send you that.
Yeah, the red's definitely gonna do it. No, I think the next camera, and I have several anonymous sources that have talked about that. I think the Alexa Amira is about to be phased out or dropped by Ari soon, which is definitely one of the bigger documentary cameras from Ari. So that one, and yeah. So we'll talk about that one when that kind of happens. But there's been several people talking about that one. Let me see. Okay, here's a question for you. Apart from CNC time lapses, what does the guest do? Yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, I am a software developer. I've been doing that for 25 years, primarily doing web, but I do desktop development as well. And yeah, primarily focused on the retail industry at the moment. So music industry specifically. So yeah, so I just, it's what I do now. Do some graphic design, some work in that area. But like I said, yeah, just kind of spread out. Unfortunately, when you get into this business, you get bored quickly with the work you do. So it lends itself to wanting to get into different hobbies. So that's why the CNC channel.
Yeah, no, and he'll be around on some other content and podcasts and all that kind of stuff in the future, as well as like, yeah, he's great support to the channel, helping us with a lot of different things, which is it's always great to have help from just like the community. So yeah, definitely check out his channel. We have him linked in the description below. Give him a like, give him a subscribe there.
Please do.
Yeah.
That would be great. And be patient too, because more content's coming. Quality, it's gonna get better.
Scott, Red doesn't send too many cameras out. I'm lusting after doing a review of the Scarlet 3K. Scarlet 3K, that would be cool. Is that that's not the new one that came out? I know they came out with a new one. I was watching it for a little bit. I was watching some of the content. I need to look at that a little bit more. There are some more Red abandoned stuff that we will be talking about. And Scott, maybe we can even have Scott. Scott's a big Red aficionado, I guess you could say. So we'll definitely have you on for some content to get some other side of it, because we all know it's funny because I don't necessarily have any angst, I guess you could say, towards Red. In a sense, I'm not really I'm not bound to any camera company. Like I'm not whatever. I'm going to talk fairly and do history on all of them. So I don't have any allegiances to anyone, which makes it a little bit fun because I can, I don't have to like hold back on some stuff.
Yeah, but you don't own a red.
I do own a red though.
Do you?
Yeah, I own the very best red camera they ever made.
What's that?
The red hydrogen.
Oh no, really? Oh,
yeah,
no.
I have a red hydrogen, so I do own a red camera.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. So Ranger 7 Studios. I would love to see the Epson camera. I believe that's on our list. We're gonna get to that. I can let you guys all know here. We are getting into the SI2K, which is a Silicon Valley camera that actually filmed a lot of the Slumdog Millionaire that beat out Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight at the award ceremony. And then we're also I did some interviews in Toronto about the last two remaining DALSA Origin 4K cameras. So we're going to be redoing a DALSA Origin one. And I actually have my hands on an abandoned camera, the Iconoscope ACAM D2, which, interesting enough, I'm hoping I'm saying this right because this is French and this is like my Achilles heel at trying to pronounce things. Cannes, the film festival at Cannes. They actually had one of the films was filmed on an abandoned camera, the Iconoscope ACAM D2, and YM Cinema gave us a little shout out for that. So it's kind of cool to be included in that. Let us see. Any more questions here? Comments on the Nikon win. That is an incredibly loaded question that honestly, if we were going to cover, which we might cover at some point, I would actually like that would be a fun one to get Scott involved with. Cause I'm sure you've got some stuff. I'm sure you can't say everything you know about, but, that would be a fun one. I would say Nikon definitely came away looking nice at that, but I think it was a draw in the sense that I think Nikon got to do what they wanted to, but Red also didn't risk losing their patent over that. So we'll dig into it. It's patents and all that kind of stuff are so complicated. And I know Cheecken's already been looking into some of that stuff. So we might do that. That'll be fun. Yes, the one about the DALSA. Yeah, that's the picture. If you even see the thumbnail for this one, it's actually, I got to actually like see it. It was super cool. Got to interview the professor who like has a long history with it. Super cool. We also, this will fascinate everyone on this. We found this weird connection between a Red lawsuit and the DALSA Origin camera with Apple that we were able to piece together from different stories while we were out there. So I can't wait to talk about it in that one. Let me see here. Yeah, I think that's it for the. Yeah, I do own a Hydrogen one. The only reason I own the Hydrogen one is because I used it for the video. That was fun. That the end of it, some people got mad at me for addressing a Reddit rumor that I felt needed to be addressed, and I even like debunked the Reddit rumor, but people got mad at me for even bringing up the Reddit rumor. So, yeah, that was fun. Anytime I talk about Reddit, it's always interesting. But yeah. Cool. Let's see. Any other questions? You guys asked some more questions in the chat. I think I've caught up. And George, you have some more questions for me?
I do. Just some closing questions with regard to someone who's wants to be a new cinematographer or photographer in general. What would you recommend for equipment for someone starting out, maybe on a budget? Camera, for example. What would you recommend?
That's a loaded question. I mean, again, it depends on what you want to do. If you really looking to do cinema stuff, then don't go. I hate saying that. Like, it's fine to get a camera with autofocus, but you probably should learn how to manual focus and like really dial in all of your stuff. Blackmagic, I would say, is a really good entry point for that. They're really good cameras. They're really inexpensive. I mean, even the Pocket 4K with MFC, like it's really easy to even still use that. That's like honestly one of my favorite cameras anyways, is the Pocket 4K out of their lineup. So I would say Blackmagic's really a good place to start if you're trying to just get into it and you have a low budget and you just need like a camera that functions like a cinema camera. You can get used to shooting in RAW, albeit it's a hybrid RAW that they have that's not really a true RAW, but it gets you used to that workflow. It gets you used to learning how to use your camera. And it's a good starting point if you're looking to do cinematography. Now, if you're wanting to do like client work and other stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, you can use that. Don't get me wrong. It's a great camera. You're going to need a little bit more stuff. The Ursa G2, honestly, to me, is a great camera, like production camera, where if you have a little bit more money to spend, the Ursa G2 or Ursa 12K is great. You don't even have to use it at the 12K level.
Yeah.
But it gives you a bunch of things like XLR inputs, SDI, a bunch of stuff that you just need for production stuff or run and gun filmmaking. Those are great if you have a little bit more extra money to spend. But it's kind of hard not to suggest them. Right now, we'll see what they're going to do in the future, whether or not I think that, but that's a good starting point. Scott said that Ursa G2 makes a beautiful image. The 12K, not so much. I totally agree. I have both of them, and I definitely think the Ursa G2 sensor just looks so much better. I don't know what it is that they did to that sensor, but it's probably their best camera in the Ursa G2. It's my favorite one to go shoot, run and gun on, honestly. So that's what I would say. That's what I would say starting out.
It's just, that was 4.6, or is that 6? Or
yeah, the 4.6K, the Ursa G2. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite out of them. It even has a little bit better dynamic range than the Ursa 12K. I think it's got like 15 stops. It's just, it's a nice camera. It's like my favorite one to shoot on.
Yeah. When I got my G1, I was looking at all the G2s and I'm like, man, there's so many features on here too that like just USB in general, for storage, that would be so much cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
that would be really nice.
But I mean, with the Blackmagics, it is nice because you don't have a lot of it. Like the stuff is not locked behind proprietary stuff, like B-RAW. It's all open. It's all free. The solid state drives you can use. I mean, you could get like a T5 card for some of them for like, I don't know, like $80.
Yep.
So I like it from that sense. It's a good budget one, and it's a great one to learn on. Even like their older stuff, there's still people who use their older stuff.
Right. Yeah. What about say for lighting? What would you recommend?
Lighting, there's so many good options out there now. A lot of times I would hear you probably want to stick with a brand. I mean, you can't go wrong with Aperture. Aperture is going to run you a little bit more money. I will actually say I've been fairly impressed with Small Rig, with their lights. Like, are they going to hold up as much as Aperture? Not sure. But the price, and then the price for most of the accessories, like the diffusers and stuff that go with them, it's so much easier to get into that. And I would say Aperture, Small Rig's a good one to start. Again, if you need budget, and you need like big lights to do more professional stuff, like a client, like most of your clients are not going to look at it and go like, what's small? Like they don't even know what most light companies are. And Nanlite. I like Nanlite.
Yeah. Now, question for you, specifically though, is when like, how did you start out? And then what would you recommend, maybe for somebody else is trying to start out? Like,
I have a weird back history that's a little like I don't have a degree in film. I have a degree in business. But I've always been interested in film, and I like at this point, I mean, the amount of research and stuff I know, I mean, I basically probably almost have a college degree in some of the stuff. I mean, we have so many people, like it's weird. Like there's even like when we were in Toronto at this film school with this professor, like half of his like I think he said like a quarter or half of his students knew who I was and watched my content. So it's kind of weird being on that side. But to get into like doing film, I mean, and doing all this, I kind of started more from a social media side of it. I more of a marketing kind of person in general that just happens to also like have an affinity for doing film and really like worked my butt off trying to learn how to do it well. So I think it's just like take advantage of the opportunities that you have. Make sure that you're ready for those opportunities. Learn how to, because the biggest problem I see is that people don't like, you could be the greatest camera person, greatest artist, like in that sense. Probably there's a bunch of people that are way better than me. But you really got to learn how to deal with clients. You have to understand a little bit more business sense. You have to understand like when you're on jobs, you're not just there to film. You're also there to like communicate with them, to go to dinner and like, I mean, there's this whole process behind it. And I think some of the business side helps me out a lot because I understand that side of it. And I understand that like half of it's not even about the project. It's about like building relationships with people and getting them to be able to trust you in circumstances. That way they'll keep coming back to you. Like most people won't even know, like a good video from a bad video. I've had clients that have cried over videos and I'm like, I don't know why you're crying over this video, but you see, so it's like you deliver the best product you can, give the best advice you can. But at the end of the day, like it is about relationship building and that's what business is. So if you really you do need to learn a little bit. It's a little bit more than just about having the best camera and like knowing how to edit the best. You got to know how to work with your client and work within their specific needs and learn when you're pushing and how far to push and when not to push and when to just accept that like, okay, this is what they want. Like, so I guess that's my best advice. Like you need, like, it's great that you're good at filming and putting videos together, but you need to learn the business side of it. And you need to think about that a little bit more.
Yeah. Having the right business sense obviously is going to play everything out when it comes to actually doing the work too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. 100%.
Scott, good to see you. Thanks for joining. We're definitely going to have you on for some stuff. Yeah, I mean, I was being funny with that tweet from your podcast that I got sent from a bunch of people, which I think is totally funny. I've been laughing at that for a while, but definitely want to have you on sometime soon or like do some content together. It'll be so much fun. Let's see if there's any more questions in here. Here we go. Does George A have too many screens in his background or not enough screens or see just the right amount? I mean, you guys can't really see my setup, but my setup's pretty crazy too. I've got like I've got a problem. We both got a problem. But look, I like screens. I won't criticize someone on screens because I don't know how people like, who is it? Michael Tobin is like, who's selling all of his stuff, another YouTube friend, and is like going all nomadic on stuff and like editing from a laptop. I can't edit on a laptop.
Every screen has a purpose.
Yep. And not enough screens are. Oh, you finished that up. Okay. Let's see. What other questions do we have here that we can get to? Sorry, just got back. Did you guys discuss the Nikon versus Red outcome? Just a little bit. We'll make a video on it. Okay, I'll commit to making a video on it at this point because I do want to get into it a little bit because I don't know if it's actually been covered as well by people on the internet. I think it's kind of maybe have taken some things from my video that didn't need to be taken from it, but we'll do it. Schmoozing, yes. I mean, that's what it is. Like, and I wouldn't see that as a bad term, but it is like you got to build relationships with people that you're working on. Like, especially, you have to think about it like these are essentially my coworkers. Talking about like clients, like they're your coworkers because you don't have like day-to-day office people. So you need to get to know them. You need to be able to be dependable, like have fun, make jokes, like learn about them a little bit and like relate to them. That's the best way to do business because business is about relationships. And people will come back to you more and more. The friendlier you are, the more fun you are. Like if people have a general good like time with you, they're going to come back to you more so than for the quality of your videos. But even in saying that, make sure the quality of your videos and stuff you're always trying to do better on. Let's see here.
I got one last question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with all the work that you've done over the past, how many years have you been working doing in this industry?
Like 8 or 9 at this point in one sense or another.
So if you could go back and tell yourself something, what would it be?
Well, I would have gotten a video much sooner, I think. I'm trying to think. Tell myself, it's hard because it's like, what do you tell yourself to push yourself in the other direction? Maybe start off a business like by myself, because I started off with a couple other people, which was totally fine, and we actually still work with them and bring them on contracts and stuff. But it is true what they say with like bringing friends into a business. It's fun, but it is also difficult.
Yeah.
Starting out, yeah, I don't know. I kind of enjoyed like the entire. It's a hard question, because it's like changing it like from one direction to the other on what I did would have like drastically
Change the outcome,
changed.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe definitely start YouTube sooner. I definitely would have started a YouTube channel sooner. A pop screen flat. I know I need to get one. Sorry, I just got this new arm. I just saw someone say like a pop screen. I know I need to get one. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, so I guess that's the best answer I can give you for that one.
No, I appreciate it. This is good. This has been enjoyable. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, thanks for being on, guys. Again, George has sponsored this live stream. He has sponsored a bunch of videos up and coming. So definitely go look at the link in the description, subscribe to his channel. He's going to be on stuff, so get used to seeing his face and hearing his voice. He's going to be around probably a good bit on some other content as we go forward, and maybe probably even more live streams, because this has been fun. I definitely want to, if you guys like doing this and answering questions, we could even do some live streams and some podcast stuff on other topics. If you guys have things you want me to take a look at from an editing standpoint, other questions, yeah, I'm totally down to do some more Frame Voyager live streams. We definitely have not done it enough, and we'll love to do it some more with you guys. Nice mic, thank you, Microscopic Media. It is. I like. If for any of you wondering, this is the Neumann TL. I believe it's the TLM 102. Neumanns are nice mics, but this is usually what I end up using for a lot of our videos and stuff. It's having good audio equipment is nice.
Definitely changes the production quality, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. Everyone's saying that I'm guys, you caught me. I have been in cahoots with and I can actually show you. I have been working behind the scenes with Senny Martin on bringing the Fran 8K back from the dead, but it's going to be beefier. It's going to be bigger, and it's going to be greener. And here are some test shots that we have to actually show. Here we go. There you go. That is our color science. Look at those natural human skin tones in there. You see that one on the left was the old Fran 8K color science, and the one on the right is the new one that we were testing out at NAB. So this, the Fran 8K 2.0 part 2. It's the
Matrix Edition.
STD2. It's more STDs than the last one. So it is not easy being green. But yeah, that's a nice little look at that for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah. We will be actually I am working on a LUT pack, an abandoned camera LUT pack that you too can make yourself look as green as the Fran 8K, and that will be a fun one where you guys can either become members of the channel if you'd like to support it, like George has, or if you just want to buy it, and do that. But if you guys want to, you could definitely just be a member of the channel and get exclusive behind the scenes access to early content whenever I actually make the videos fast enough for you to see them. But I usually try to release videos early for people who are in our community groups, our membership of the channel. So definitely do it. Only here with the Fran Luts. Yes, I figured. Oh, the Fran has become some kind of meme. I gotta say, guys, after the privacy, he called us out on a little bit of a privacy violation. on YouTube. That's been resolved. That has been resolved because I said he was from Barcelona, which is on their public profile. I guess that's what it was, but YouTube decided that that was the it was fine. So no problem there. So all good. So yeah, I feel like the Fran 8K story is coming to a close, but I do have a little. I will probably be releasing some shirts here soon. I've been teasing that for a while. I'm just trying to figure out how that's going to work, and I've got a little fun thing to memorialize the Fran 8K in all its glory. That will be in our studio that's why I'm here in my office, is because we're redoing our studio space to fit more styles of content and other stuff. But we've got a fun, I would say, neon experience coming that will memorialize the Fran 8K a little bit. So that should be here in a few weeks.
And is it not true? Community members can get a T-shirt.
Yes. High-end community members, yes.
For all you out there.
Oh, yeah. So, guys, go become a community member of Frame Voyager today. Fran hype. Yes, that is right. All the Fran. Look, if Alejandro Martin, if you were listening on this podcast right now, I will personally fly to Spain to do an interview with you and pay you if you have the Fran 8K, because I will buy it from you. So just give your story out there. We could do it. Let's keep this story living and memorialized forever. But I hope maybe there's more content down the line, but I feel like the video views on that have run their course. The memes have not. They'll always be a big part of our channel, but I think the story may have finally concluded, unless someone can bring back a Fran 8K. So anyways, guys, thanks for being here. We will be back again. This will be a podcast if you guys wanted to listen to the whole question and answer thing we were doing throughout it. We'll probably cut through all the fun community stuff that we were doing. But hopefully Alejandro Martin doesn't take this down. You never know. I would definitely vlog with the Fran 8K if I got it. That would be so much fun. Thank you all for being here. Please go check out George's channel, CNC Time Lapse. Super cool, building a CNC machine out of scratch, essentially, I guess, right? And then filming it and doing it. So he's gonna be having some cool content. And thank you for all the 50,000 subscribers. It's been great. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening if you're on the same time zone I am. And I'll check. We'll be back. We'll be back soon with some more fun content. So, yeah, great.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. This is fun.